Hey everyone, and welcome back to the PuddyMod YouTube channel. And on the bench today, all right, let's see what we got. Okay, when this rear originally blew, the studs gave out, and after the studs gave out, everything else went to hell. It originally had an Geiken LSD in it. It destroyed that. This thing is warped. It rolls around like an egg. So unfortunately that was lost as well. The original ring and pinion gear set is gone. We are replacing everything in this rear, and it is getting a 4.57 from MFactory. These are a gear that I don't normally install. I do not provide them, and they want me to put them in. Then I go ahead and I do that. It's getting an ATS 1.5 way carbon metal hybrid LSD. This is a new thing from an old company, so this is going to be pretty cool to see how this works out on the track. You know, I'll do some updates later in other videos to talk about this rear end again in the future. Of course, all new Honda parts to like bearing seals and etc. We always use that. The PuddyMod solid steel sleeve, and let's get this thing put together. Yay! All right, we have the pinion set up here in the arbor press. When you do a Richmond 457, it takes a custom shim, so we'll take a factory shim and we'll grind it down to like 117, sometimes as low as 112 thousandths. They just take a much thinner shim. This is an MFactory gear set, so this is, I set one of these things up, maybe 7 years ago, I'm thinking. And I know they do revisions on these gears. So to cover my base, I'm gonna go ahead with the thin shim here, and we're gonna see what we're doing, see how it works out, and then we'll adjust from there. Got a good pressed fit. All right, next we're pushing in the bearings, bearing cups I should say. Perfect. There we go. Looking good. All right, we're up to the part that I'm going to start setting up this ring gear as well. On this pinion, I usually, go ahead and finish up setting up the third member with the pinion seal in, the slinger wash and all that. But when it comes to an aftermarket gear set, especially like a 457, sometimes you have to back shim these things because the shim on the pinion down here is so thin that you bottom out the spline. So you can never get the proper preload. So you have to put two slinger washers back here instead of just one. Also, the other issue with these gears is they do not taper the spline. It's just a straight cut spline. So when you put the input flange on, as like so here, it just slides right in. There, it doesn't taper on and get tight. So the issue with that is gear oil can leak out past the spline and into this pocket here between the drive shaft and this input flange, causing you have a leak. So what we have to do is we have to use a sealant on that spline before we do final assembly, so that we don't have a leak of gear oil, and we don't want that. ATS provides their own hardened bolts for the ring gear. We'll be installing those as well and checking balance on that LSD here momentarily. Before I clean this LSD, I wanted to show you guys these markings on here. This is done by the factory. This is so they know, I guess, if this thing has been tampered with. These are assembly line markings. That's to show that it's been balanced by that company, by ATS. I'm going to go ahead and clean this thing. A lot of those marks are going to probably end up going bye-bye once I do clean it. But I wanted to share that with you guys so you can see this when you get one out of the box. This is how it's going to come out. It's going to come out with these markings on it because everything has been set by the factory, by ATS, and they will know if you have, I guess, tuned on it. All right, we're putting the bearings on the LSD now. Got a good fit on those. And like I was saying, those markings are all gone from the factory. The balance mark is scribed into the outer flange and the inner barrel. So those two pieces, you'll know exactly where that balance is. Let's see, right there it is right there. You can see it, that's scribed in, so you know those two pieces are made it correctly together. All right, let me flip this thing over and get the other bearing pressed on. Perfect. All right, we are setting up the LSD here. Got the bearings in place. Check this out. Perfection right there. It doesn't get much better than that. It almost zeroed out. Perfect balance on this ATS LSD. That's a really good sign. Excellent machine work there. There's definitely some new changes on this barrel. You got extra holes in here for more oil flow. You can see the ends of those clutch plates there. All these extra windows will definitely help to keep this thing oil circulated and cool. Here we are at the backlash here. It's about 5.5, 6 thousandths around the gear, so it's consistent, which is really good to see. Backlash is set here on the wide side because that's how these gears are set up, or at least the Richmond gears were, and these are a duplication of that gear. This 457 MFactory is basically identical to the 457 Richmond. So we're going to go ahead and check for pattern next, and you can see that how it was lapped from the factory or set up by the factory. It's a rough cut gear, so these aren't really lapped smoothly. So we're just going to see if we fall into that area of that shadow that you see there. I'm going to go ahead and spin this for you guys so you can hear it. You can see the pattern is basically what the factory has set up, so we're right in the good zone there. You can hear how that sounds. It's pretty rough. So you're definitely going to hear that in the car. This is a race car, full-on race car, so it's not that big of a deal, but I'm going to try to sweeten this up, see if I can do better, try to get it a little smoother sounding. Stand by. All right, we're back. We're on our third shim change here. You can see the pattern is staying pretty consistent because I'm only moving a few thousandths one direction or the other. But it does not sound good. It sounded better with the first shim, the one that I initially put in here to my first guess. And this is how it sounds like on my third try. You can hear a little bit of a grind in that. That's 6 thousandths backlash, same as the first shim. And what we did was we went about 3 thousandths thicker than the first shim, and that's the sound you got. And then I went about 5 thousandths thinner than the first shim, and it really grinds. So it definitely will not take a thinner shim like the 457. It seems like it's going to stay in at the very thinnest shim in the Honda shim pack, and that seems to be about the quietest, and the pattern is consistent. As you can see, it's pretty much the same. All right, fourth is the charm. I think we found our sweet spot. It is at 121 thousandths. We got a really nice pattern. It's consistent backlash. The backlash had to be opened up a little bit more. We were running at 6 thousandths. Now we're running at 7.5, 8 thousandths. It sounds much better. It's still not quite like a factory gear would be, but at least we got rid of the grind. Sounds nice. Got a very consistent, clean looking pattern, consistent backlash. That's 124. You can see that it's really, the patterns are all running really close together. There's not a lot of difference, between them. This one's a little slashy, but it didn't sound bad at 122.5. But 121, that's it. Thousandths and a half, that makes a big difference in a little rear end like this. Nice. All right, next thing we're going to do is set up the PuddyMod solid steel sleeve. There we go. Okay, we have everything cleaned up and ready to go. Steel sleeve has been adjusted and set. We're going to Honda bond the spline in here, so when we put it on our pinion, we don't get a leak, because that is a pretty loose spline. We don't want a hero a leak, so we'll take care of that. Got a great pattern, ATS LSD. All right, we are ready to rock and roll. We have our Honda bond seal inside on the spline, looking good. Got the bearing lubricated now, and the outside of the flange here lubricated. And we have our nut ready to go, washer. Now, time to assemble. Nice and smooth, perfect. All right, here we are with the backlash set on that 457 gear, and we set it at 5.5 thousandths. It's between 5 and 5.5 thousandths, well within factory spec, but just a little bit on the wide side. The Richmond 457 gears actually called for like an 8 to 10 thousandths backlash, and this is going to open up as it wears in. So this is going to come in probably at about 6.5 to 7 thousandths once it's well, worn in, and we're going to get an absolutely perfect pattern this way. Full contact across the entire gear. I think we may even get this thing to probably quiet down some in time, because our setup is so well done from the get-go here. So I'm really happy with this setup. I'm really happy with the backlash. So I'm going to go ahead and put the clips in this thing and button it up for final assembly. We are back for the final segment of this video. The rear is built, everything's done. Honda bond seal is now cured up so I can ship. This came out really nice. It's nice and tight. This is that ATS LSD and that MFactory 457 ring and pinion, stage 2 PuddyMod upgrade. This is a track designated car, so I really like to get some nice feedback on this when it gets on the track to see how this guy likes it. This is a hybrid ATS LSD that has a carbon metal clutch pack in it. So this should be pretty cool. Really interested in seeing on this new revision to the ATS unit from the back in the day, the old school stuff. Anyway, well, the next one on the bench is this AP2, and I'm afraid that we're gonna have catastrophic failure here because hopefully you can see that how much movement is there. You guys ask me a lot of times, how much play is supposed to be in here? It really should be, kind of minimal. There's always play in everything, but when you can see something, hopefully I can do this without tripod, because I'm moving around as I'm trying to show you this demonstration, but this thing really hops. So that's probably a broken bearing cap, and unfortunately, if they're broken, there's nothing you can do. So we can salvage bits off of this thing, but 90% of this differential is going to end up in the scrap metal recycle bin. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned to the PuddyMod YouTube channel for the next fun-filled episode of stuff. Hey, shop kitty. Oh, what a good little baby. All right, thanks for watching, guys.